This is Made for episode 1. People know him as Creed. His real name is Tyshawn. He's a film director, writer, and producer based in Atlanta, Georgia. And he's here with me live in person to have a conversation. So welcome to Made for It.
Man, it's a pleasure to be here. Space is dope.
And he said yes to me yesterday. He didn't know he was going to be doing this.
Absolutely didn't, man, but I'm happy to be here.
Well, I wanted to have you on as the first guest because you've been someone who has been loyal to me as a customer for a long time. I own a rental company. We rent out cameras, lighting, grip, whatever. And you came to me at the start of it, really. I mean, we met on ShareGrid.
Yeah.
and we were at completely different levels of our career back then. I mean, that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a minute.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I was like, what better way to start off this new endeavor than have someone who's been kind of growing alongside me? Like we don't even run in the same circles necessarily, but we've watched each other from a distance grow.
100%.
You know? Yeah, I thought it'd be very, very fitting to have you on, and I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you inviting me. I actually remember, I believe I remember, I don't remember exactly, actually I do. I think I remember what I rented and when I came here and what gig it was. If I'm not mistaken, I think I was doing a video for Amaretta.
Okay.
And I think I was like renting like a Shinobi monitor. And it was also like probably like one of my first experiences renting on ShareGrid. I probably only used it like once because it was kind of new. But it is crazy to kind of think about how much time has passed and then how much that, you know, the relationship between us and just like the comfortability over all this time is insane.
What camera were you using back then on that shoot?
I probably was using like a Sony A7S at that time.
Like one.
Yeah.
Like version 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you even get into film?
I mean, I always, like most filmmakers, love movies and such. But outside of all of that, I got into shooting and like touching the camera when I started like in college. I started a clothing brand while I was managing one of my friends who was an artist. He was making big waves in Atlanta. This is probably like 2013, 2014. This is like new Atlanta days. This is like Rich Homie Quan's coming out, McConan, all of this, Father, like everybody in it. Like Atlanta was a different place. Yeah. Edgewood was a different place. And around that time, because I had the clothing brand and because I had the artist, I needed visuals. So, and he needed visuals. So we didn't, I didn't know too much. I'm in college. I'm broke. I use my refund check. I get me a T3i. And I'm like, let me figure out how to do this thing. I'm on Movie Maker. And
Like Windows Movie Maker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Windows Movie Maker.
Not even a Mac.
I know. Yeah, I didn't get a Mac.
We were all on Windows back then.
Right. And like, he needed visuals, and I just took it as an opportunity to kind of practice. And when I pressed record, man, I was like so fascinated. Like it really just kind of hooked me in. Like I was a bio major in college. I had I couldn't even fathom the idea of switching and going somewhere else. I was trying to do the cookie cutter, be a dentist, be in medical.
Really?
Yeah, like that was like the pathway.
I would have never guessed that in a million years.
Yeah.
So you had never touched a camera really until like college?
No.
Really? Because I would have guessed like, oh yeah, he's been like filming himself since he was a kid, like playing with VHS, like camcorders, all that.
Always, the one thing I can say I did is anytime we had an opportunity in like high school to do like a group project, I'll always suggest like, oh, we should record ourselves or like make a video. I always thought that was like the easiest thing to do in the sense of like a class project, because I hated writing and making PowerPoints. So it was like, oh, we just act it out or do something creative that would be way more engaging.
Yeah.
So, but just to steadfast, like I'm doing all these things. My artists needed visuals. My artists needed shows. I started making community shows in Atlanta. And a fun fact, it was called Full Pie. I was doing a lot of things. Yachty was my neighbor. I gave Lil Yachty his first ever show and performance. That's a fact.
No way.
Yeah, and I remember around that time when I was doing all of these things, it was to primarily for my artists to grow, but also to connect with artists because I'm starting to fall in love with the camera, and I'm giving people opportunity to perform, and I'm like, oh, this would be a good opportunity also to maybe talk with them, shoot their music videos, kind of get in, and I think that was really like my real incision into like that space. Eventually, I ended up just kind of really going full head on the visual stuff, but that really brought me into the mix.
So this brings up a really good point for like a lot of kids, teenagers, young people. Talk to young people real quick about like they think they have to have it all together and know what they want to do. You didn't even start doing this until college. So like just talk about that for a second.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like people need to give themselves permission to explore. Um, I think we get so caught up in our heads about we gotta have this, we gotta have these things. And I think the beautiful thing about nowadays is with the whole content era, a lot of people are sharing these experiences. Back then, this was kind of like if you know, you know. People was so cognito about their experiences and what they were going through, from finances to just mental. And I think nowadays it's all on Front Street a little bit, so people can kind of relate a little bit more. But I think to the kids today, that they should just definitely give themselves opportunity to explore. There's so many different ways to go, the direction that you want to go, no matter what it is. And everything compounds. The experience in one space, no matter what it is, can correlate to, the next thing and inspire you. So I think managing the artists, doing the shows, and like kind of garnering the relationships really kind of taught me how to kind of maneuver through these spaces. And when I graduated from KSU, looking for jobs, I ended up on a one-way plane ticket to Miami. It was my first time in Miami. This is really where
By
everything.
yourself.
Yeah. Well, not by myself. A shooter named 20K
Okay.
Visuals. At that time, he was shooting like Kodak Black. Kodak was hot. This is 2016. So 2016, going to 2017, I go into Miami. I graduated in 2016. Kodak is on what, like freshman.
So this shooter just like invites you to go hang, like just go help, or like what was the deal with you just going to Miami? How did that come about?
So he came to Atlanta to shoot Kodak. Actually, no, he came to Atlanta to shoot Yo Gotti one day. Um, slid in DMs like, hey, I'd love to come out. He invited me out. Good energy, good vibes. Next thing you know, maybe like a couple months pass by, and he's like, yo, would you like to come to Miami? I'm doing something with Meek Mills. I'm like, oh, okay. Yes. I'm broke. I'm very broke. I'm talking about I'm in the negatives. But I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. I have my credit card, which was definitely on this last leg. And, he ended up getting me a ticket, but it was a one way. I was a little worried. I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't know if it's paid. I don't know if he's like, I don't know anything. But I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'll be
No,
there.
I'm going.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm staying. So I get on the plane, I go there. We're there for like, I'm out there for like almost like a week. But one thing happened. We out there, we're shooting music videos. I'm like cutting them up in like 24 hours. I'm doing like crazy things. I'm with it all. I just wanted to get the experience. But one thing about that trip that really kind of like broadened my perspective was we are on a yacht with Meek Mill. And it's like 3 yachts in the back of, ironically, Diddy's crib.
No.
But it's, but it was cool. But
You didn't go there.
We didn't go there. But we're like 3 yachts deep. They're all lined up, and it was my first time just like seeing so many different like stars because he was there. James Harden was there. It was just so many different stars. And then we went downstairs.
And they're all there for the video.
No, they're just there
Oh, they're just
chilling. Like the
hanging.
videos were happening throughout the week.
I see.
And then I have a video probably on my Vimeo from that day. It was like a recap video. And I remember it was such a nostalgic feeling. Before I went downstairs to kind of, I guess like we was going to chat with Meek, there was like people on jet skis coming to the yacht. But there was like several of them, maybe like 7. But it looked so majestic. They looked like they were on horses, like just galloping through, galloping through the waters, holding boxes, which was like boxes of Bel Air to deliver. But it was so magical to me in a weird way. And I remember going downstairs and Meek was like giving some like motivational spill, and then he was like counting money, and it was like basically like 100,000. And it was just interesting, like it was just weird to see, and I was just looking around.
This was a whole different world.
Yeah. I was just looking around, and I was like, wow, these people are, really making this up. Like I don't know what everyone does here. I don't understand how they're making their money and being creative.
Yeah.
But if they can do this, because they don't look that special to me, then I have to be able to have this or be able to create and do it in my own way. And when I finally made it back home to Atlanta, my whole perspective changed. I think that was probably like when I made it back to Atlanta, I think I stopped looking for jobs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I should try to refocus my energy in creating opportunity.
You saw some kind of other path.
Yeah.
Where you were like, those jobs are not a part of this equation anymore.
Yeah.
All because you sent one DM.
Yeah. And took a chance because, that's not something I necessarily would ever do now. But
or even recommend someone else to, like, go get on a one-way ticket, not knowing how you're going to go anywhere.
Or know if you're getting paid.
Or know if you can, not even knowing what you're going to go do, really.
Yeah.
So, you took a big risk at the same time. But, like, you're basically here because of that one DM that you sent.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good story.
Yeah. And I'm pretty grateful for it. I always tell 20 about it, and we don't even work as closely as we used to. But I always tell them I'm grateful just for that experience, because it really was a underpaid value for me.
Yeah. So you've been working with artists and doing music videos for a long time. You've been exploring narrative stuff. One of the last projects I saw you do that is like pretty public on Instagram is like the Sexy Red Drake music video. So tell me about that. How did that come about for you?
The Sexy Red, Drake, all of that. During that year, I was doing a lot of stuff for Sexy. I was working with another director, producer named Des Gray, who brought me into the fold. And
Foreign Made?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we
She's an OG in Atlanta?
Yeah, very much, very much. And during that period, we were doing a lot of things for Sexy. I was coming up with a lot of concepts that I think really propelled, in my mind, Sexy's career during that year. I mean, since we shot Hood Rats with her and Sukiyana, I think we was able to elevate the experience that people viewed her in, So it was fun. The Sexy Red video, Get It Sexy, with Drake coming on board, was wild. Like that was probably like a really wild and stressful period. However, it was fun. I think the energy on set was immaculate. Like I can't even describe it. I think everybody was really having fun on that set. Outside of like working with certain type of artists with different experiences, like Drake is a class act professional person to work with. Like clearly he's been doing this forever,
for a long time.
So he knows and understands how a set maneuvers.
I mean, he's been on a set since he was a kid.
Exactly.
So
so like and he's super interested in it. He's when he's talking about it, he's talking to me about the angles, the camera, and that was cool to experience, to kind of see someone who's so seasoned, to work with them. So it was cool.
How do you even, for people who are like, they're just starting to direct, or they think they want to direct, or like they're just not even in this industry, how do you, You said, okay, I'm not going to go find jobs. I'm going to figure out opportunity in whatever this world is. And then now, 10 years later, you're here. You've done that kind of job with two really big names. Tell me about how you even get a job like that. Like, what did it, how does your career lead up to that? What kind of connections do you have to have? Like, were you in competition with someone else for a bid? Like,
Yeah.
was it your concepts versus somebody else? Like, tell me the story.
Yeah. So a lot of us, when we're getting into it, or when you reach a certain level, obviously you may get some contacts from some commissioners who will have you bid on projects, which I do not support. I do not support. I hate it. But it's a part of the game, and everyone should experience it.
For those who don't know, tell us, like, give us a brief description of like what a commissioner is,
Yeah,
labels, all that.
yeah. So commissioner, generally speaking, is someone who is like a representative of said label, who may have like a Rolodex of artists that they need projects for. So they'll reach out to wherever they are filming at. They'll reach out to filmmakers in the area through word of mouth contacts or whatever the case may be, and they'll give them a brief that the artist or label possibly had put out as far as where the creative direction of where the song may go. And then it's your job to basically work on an idea and present a treatment of some sort, for them to digest and ultimately make a selection. The unfortunate thing is you don't know how many people they're sending this out to, and sometimes you don't even get a response as to like you not being selected. You just get kind of a rush order saying, "Hey, I need this tomorrow or next week."
And then you get ghosted.
Yeah, and
And you waste all that time.
get ghosted. And making treatments, no matter how simple it is so time consuming. Anytime you're using your brain to create something and find references, it is work.
Because it has to be a coherent thing from beginning to end.
Yes.
It's not just like you write a few lines and you have one page. Like, it's not simple.
At all.
It's not simple like some people might think.
At all. And then like even if you were to like luck up and like kind of half-ass something, they expect you to know what's going on. And beyond that, there's a lot of working with the labels.
Yeah, because you're basically selling your vision so that it becomes their vision too. And then they're fully entrusting you with that.
Right, right. And you may even have the right idea, but they still don't want you, and they may give your idea away. Just saying. It happens to the best of us. So, but all in all, I think one of the most important things you can do is find your taste. And what I mean by that, outside of the visual aspect, is like if you enjoy music, who are the local artists that you listen to? And reach out to them and start shooting them and creating with them to kind of build a portfolio. And I know that for a fact that's what I was doing. That's where when I was throwing the shows, I was coming across artists that I truly enjoy, and creating for them. And I think that allowed me the confidence to show something when I did reach out to people and DM people who were, in my mind, light years ahead of me.
Yeah.
With the whole Sexy Red thing and all the clientels that I have had, it probably has come from some type of reach out personally, and my willingness to possibly work with them for free, in the beginning. So I think you have to kind of afford the time to make those type of investments.
So what do you think got you that particular job?
That was what got me the Sexy Red Drake job, is the seed that was sown from way back when I reached out to Dez, to do some type of project. I think it was with like Little Donald. This might have been like 2017, 2018, after the Miami trip. So around that time is when I probably really just planted a lot of seeds. I was just in people's DMs. If I got their numbers, I text them. And I just kept just nurturing those relationships and just getting to know different people, because this creative space is vast. There's a lot of different personalities. And I think the more you understand yourself and you understand other people's perspectives and their approach, I think you can better learn how to navigate. You know, you don't have to like necessarily like sell yourself short or, you know, hold your tongue. But I think, you know, you can have better interpersonal communication and kind of see like, okay, I see how they are. They're a little bit more out loud. They're a little bit more reserved, and figure out how to better approach and communicate with people. I think people don't understand how to communicate sometimes.
You learn how to interact
Yeah.
with different people different ways.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot because you walk into a room full of people and you're going to, if you know them, you're going to interact with, I'm going to interact with you differently than I'm going to interact with Matt or John or someone else because I know generally what you like, what they like, if you're loud, if you're like your energy levels,
Yeah.
all that. And a lot of people don't even think to read that. And then to make sure to match it the next time.
Yeah.
Because you got to pay attention to that stuff.
Right.
So you said you were nurturing relationships. Talk about like how do you nurture a business relationship over time? Like what do you think about that? What's the proper way to do that?
You know, in my mind, you know, they always say there's no friends in business, but that's a lie. I feel like any business relationship to some degree has some sense of friendship. You know, I think when you look at how you build friendship, it's a great foundation as to how to nurture any relationship. There are, you know, ways obviously to communicate with people. There are boundaries, and there is just opportunity to understand when to talk and when to listen. And you know, it's not necessarily sometimes always like such an emotional thing, but emotions are always involved in everything that we do, even if it's not the point and purpose. You know, they still are there. And I think we have to understand that and know that they exist to be able to kind of better communicate because we can know, like, okay, that's an emotional statement and we can address that because things can get emotional in business at any point in time. And emotions are irrational, it can come from anything, the outside. Yeah. So I think like understanding ourselves and how we kind of maybe treat the people around us on a personal note will help on the business side.
That's dope. How do you get people to care about what you're creating?
I think.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for making it this far into the episode. If you like this kind of content, all I ask is that you please hit the subscribe button. This show is completely self-funded. There's no investors, no big team behind it. Just a lot of curiosity, a lot of time, effort, passion, creativity from me and my producer, John. And we want to continue to bring you high caliber, valuable, interesting content. And we have a lot more planned for 2026. A lot of episodes already recorded, and we're ready to release them. So please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the follow button. And now back to the episode.
You get people to care about what you're creating when you care about it the most. And I say that because a lot of times we care about something that we made, especially like when we're making it. We're feeling really good. And once it's done, we sometimes lose our little fire. And of course, no one else is going to care about it more than you. You have to like be relentless in the pursuit. So like that same thing that you had when you had the idea, you got to kind of continue to carry that and find something to reignite it. It's just like falling in love. You got to like, you know, like I'm with my wife. I got to fall in love with her every day. You know what I'm saying? Is you know, it's not the same that it was when we first met years ago. You know, and I'm finding new things. She's getting new interests, and I think that's the same thing with your art and with your work. You have to, you know, if you created something like a music video and you liked how it looked the first time, just in general, like that's cool. Now you might like how this one scene, what you did. Like you got to keep finding things so that you can kind of have the motivation to share. And I think that's the biggest thing.
You know, probably the greatest example of that recently has been the phenomenon that has been Marty Supreme and Timothy Chalamet and his promotion of
Yeah,
because he's been relentlessly promoting
yeah.
it, but in the way of like he's not even promoting the movie. He's promoting like his love of what he's done.
Exactly.
And like I haven't seen someone, especially a Hollywood movie star, with this level of enthusiasm in a very long time, other than like Tom Cruise,
Right.
who's like on that level too.
Yeah.
You know, and I can tell Timothy's like, I want to be one of the greats. He sees people like that, and he's like, let's go, let's take it to
Exactly.
another level.
Exactly. Because people like the art and the things like there's nothing necessarily new under the sun, but I think the experiences that we carry when we make something is what people digest. You know, people remember how people made them feel, and that's something that sticks with you. And if you can tap into that experience, like how you mentioned with Timothy, like he is engaging with everybody on all levels. Like he's doing the cookie cutter, but he's also having fun and showing you while I'm having fun because I want you guys to really enjoy what I just did, and and like I'm engaged. Like it's what made me draw and pay attention to the movie.
Yeah. So you got to see it?
I didn't get to see it yet,
Oh, I haven't
but
seen it either.
yeah,
I want to see it so bad, but I have not
but
seen
like
it.
it's like a no burner to see it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you are currently, I've seen this transition happening of you like moving towards narrative, you know, for probably, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 years.
Yeah.
I know you've been writing, producing for a long time. You've got some films that have gone to festivals. You've got one in festivals right now.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first movie experience that you have that you remember in theaters that kind of like changed your like perspective on like what movies are and what they mean to you and you know why you even got excited about stories?
Yeah, so I think one movie experience or a couple actually. Cannot remember too much. I just remember how I felt. I went with my mom to see. I think it was like Money Talk with like Chris Tucker or something. I can't remember. I think that was the movie. And it wasn't nothing like spectacular. I just enjoyed. It was just like one of the only memories I have that my mom took me to the theater, and I just remember having fun, eating popcorn, like her falling asleep during the movie, and like just like being relaxed. And I was like, oh, this is dope. Um, and then as far as like movies itself, like I'm more attracted to the movies that made me feel good. One of my favorite films for a feel good purpose was The Wood. That film to me was like how I saw friendship and like how I would just kind of copy and emulate life in the bit, and I didn't realize until I start getting older that like, oh man, movies can really like make you build a life around in a way. And obviously, there's films that are more my taste as far as a creator, but those two films, those slap knee comedies and things of that nature, really kind of planted the seed for me. But one of the films that I think really in the phase in which I was moving into this direction that made me turn had to been what's the film called? I am tripping right now.
Who's in it?
Fruitvale Station
Okay.
and Moonlight.
Okay.
Those two films, I think,
I
really.
think I remember you kind of going crazy on Instagram when Moonlight came out.
Yeah, Moonlight it was like for me, it also signified for me to really pay attention to Barry Jenkins, who's become kind of like one of my favorite directors. And yeah, it really shifted. I think those two movies shifted my mindset and saying, oh yeah, I need to make a movie because I feel completely here. Like this feels crazy, you know what I'm saying, for a movie to make me feel this way. And that transparency really, really taught and tugged on me.
So talk to me about him because I really want to understand. I mean, you can talk about Weirdo, but like I want to understand like what do you have going on right now that you're trying to accomplish?
I think one of the biggest things that I'm trying to accomplish with filmmaking in general is cultivating more community. I think Atlanta has like a really great sense of community here. Like, and there's like so many different pockets as well. And what I think we lack is creating experiences around our products and around our films and our art. Uh, One thing that I always like to talk about is presentation power and like how we can kind of have fun presenting our things like outside of like the typical theater screening and red carpet. Like we know what that is. We're emulating what we see, Hollywood do, and it can be more than that. We can Basquiat and Andy Warhol our shit. Like we could be presenting, you know, in places that's relevant to the work. We could be showing these things in gallery like fashion and getting people to engage with it from like an outer body experience. And I think that's where I would love to start nurturing, practicing, and just kind of being a part of that wave if it becomes anything. If not, it'd be me. I'll take it.
Creating experiences is
Creating
what you want to
experiences,
do.
100%, 100%. I think we could, I think a lot of the stuff is a little saturated. The festivals, I love festivals just due to the community aspect that we sometimes feel when we're there. But a lot of us sometimes don't make it to like the Sundances and get those type of accolades. Not to say that they aren't incredible filmmakers, because I can get on Vimeo and YouTube, and some of the stuff that I'm seeing in some of these festivals ain't touching like what I've been like actually watching, and I'm like, this is crazy. The politics is just insane. So I would rather us kind of start empowering the indie market, especially in the direction that Hollywood is going. Everybody want to. I mean, it goes in theater for like 2 months and then it's on streaming. So that's no fun.
Yeah.
So I think the indie market has real power in creating these experiences for people to view in theaters, in other spaces. I think the long walk kind of did something in that element where when in certain theaters they had replaced seats with treadmills to emulate I guess like the emotional aspect of the movie. Not sure how well they did, but it's a start
It's,
at
it's interesting.
yeah,
You know, it's an
yeah.
interesting idea. So, what do you, okay, a little bit off the cuff.
Hmm.
You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. What do you think about the whole Netflix, Paramount, Warner Brothers deal? I mean, a streaming
Yeah.
company buying a traditional Hollywood studio. Like, what do you think about all that?
It's just money. It's like just greed and money. It's like so ass backwards that like, you know, I guess they say history repeats itself. It's like eventually we're going back to cable, but we're gonna call it something else at some point. And it's just weird. It's like premium cable is what we're like leaning towards. And it's just confusing.
How do you feel about streaming in general? Like, do you feel like it's been a positive thing overall, or you feel like it's kind of screwed up, filmmaking in general, or
Mixed review. I to a degree, like there is a variant in which it has kind of screwed up a little bit, but overall, I do love it. For the value of what some of the premier Hollywood shows have brought, because it's allowed us to engage in stories a lot more closely and deeply. And for that aspect, I love it. Some of these limited series are giving us way more than we could have ever got in a movie. And that's just, irreplaceable. I mean, like, for instance, like, Mind Hunters, I would have never got that much of David Fincher.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I love that show. I
yeah.
love David Fincher. So it's like, you know, of course, like I love the classes, love Fight Club, love the movies, Gone Girl, like, but to get that much and get that much reference, I think as a filmmaker, from my perspective, is like kind of inspiring because you get to kind of soak in more knowledge.
So what are your goals for filmmaking then? as a director or a writer or a producer? Like, tell me what you're wanting, the short films that you've already been making. What do you want to come out of that, and what's next for you as far as your goals?
Outside of like,
And
yeah,
again, no humility here.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
let's talk about it.
yeah. Outside of like wanting to make some art that can make me some money, because this community over here needs money, and you know, and just I just want to have a fruitful life, and I would love to. I've been definitely playing with developing like my own, my personal feature. I've had a lot of things happen over the last few years that really allowed me to connect with home. I'm from Florence, South Carolina, if you didn't know, and small town is nothing there, but some good stories. And over the last few years, it has allowed me to really kind of reflect and look back on what I actually want to say. So I'm hoping to really put what I have inside me on paper and present that with a big impact. I'm looking for zeros, mad zeros, but
In
ultimately,
views and dollars.
views and dollars, views and dollars and wealth. But alongside that, I am just excited to just be in that space. That can be rewarding. I think a lot of people just don't enjoy their lives, and it can be tough, man. This industry is crazy. I mean, I've had before I started like kind of helping develop systems that can kind of better serve me. And even with that, like there are just some crazy months and struggles that I'm just like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Why did I choose this? And a lot of people don't want to be transparent about that.
Yeah, it's
A
true.
lot of people want to, act like they got it or they have it or put up a front. But I'm the type of person to be like, yeah, nah, this has not been a good month. This has
Yeah,
been crazy. I
yeah.
actually do not know what's happening. I actually do not know what gigs are coming along, or you know if I got rent for the next couple months, but I'm trying to figure it out and adjust. And a lot of people just like I said, a lot of people don't want to talk about that, or they want to put their I don't know. I don't understand
Put
it.
up a front. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand it. I think it's senseless to kind of put up those type of fronts when you can kind of really work with people, because everybody experiences these fallbacks. And I think if you can kind of be more transparent and lean into people and ask for help. People do not want to ask for help. I'm gonna ask.
People
So
need to be better about that.
yeah,
For sure. I've been asking for a lot of help lately.
yeah,
Because I'm trying to get stuff up off the ground. I mean,
yeah.
I've been working on this with basically one other person, John, producer right now,
Shout out to
who's
John.
like, yeah, like he's been the OG with me for the past like 6 months, making all this happen. To
Yeah,
all this leading up to today, where it's like this room was nothing, a year ago, and now it's something.
nah, it's dope.
You
It's
know,
dope too. Like it's really well put together.
I appreciate it, but it's
Yeah,
all because I just asked for help.
yeah,
There was a time when I was like, I not necessarily was afraid, but like I have lived most of my life trying to do things just by myself, to not be inconvenienced to someone else, you know, and I've learned that most people actually do want to help because they want to be useful,
right. And
you
and
know.
sometimes when like sometimes I've been in place in situations where I've been asked for help, and like just helping just served me, because I'm probably teetering on that line where I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. And then I go and help someone out, and it inspires me, or it gives me a perspective, or it gives me an opportunity that I didn't foresee. A lot of people don't, I don't know, I think when we get so secluded from ourselves and separate ourselves from like the world sometimes, we don't really see the opportunities in just being in common space.
Yeah,
Like sometimes I'm even talking with certain friends about things now, and like they are, an opportunity may come about. It may be unpaid, and I'm not talking about like crazy labor. it might be like the most simplest thing for somebody, and it's just not that paid, but it's cool. Like people sometimes won't even take the opportunity to just do the thing that possibly feel good. They'd rather just sit at home, you know what I'm saying, and complain about not having work.
Yeah.
And it's like you could have, assuming that you know you got gas in your tank, food at the house, and you got the opportunity to afford to do free right now, that you could go there and do something for yourself. Maybe you need to go out there and shoot some content of you doing something, and we see that, and now someone's thinking about you. But if you just at home scrolling, mad, looking at everyone else, comparing, like that's tragic. That's not what you needed to do. I think you gotta really kind of invest in yourself differently, and it's not always about the money. The money will come.
You got to just have a willing heart.
That part.
Have a willing heart and just don't be so about yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I met John at Trilith because he was doing Georgia Film Academy stuff, and literally I was there shooting a commercial. I was doing photography for this GFA commercial, and he was literally just a student there on set, like a part of the commercial and learning stuff in the academy. And then the catering sucked for that commercial, and I was like, I asked, I don't even know how we met you, but like I basically said, hey, I'll pay. I said, hey, what's your name? Basically, I said, hey, we'll pay for your lunch if you go get us Chick-fil-A. That's how I met John. And then we got talking, and then like basically, I don't know, it was been almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. It has been 2 years. It's January. We did that shoot in January.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is 2 years.
That was the year I graduated. Last year.
Yeah.
Oh,
And like the cool thing about John is like he had a willingness to just go be on set. Like number one, he like had great communication. Like he was nice. And then and you could tell like he was like he's just a nice person in general to like interact with, and is excited to meet people. And then Abby, our mutual friend, basically John was like offered himself like, hey, if you guys ever need anything, let me know. I'm willing to do whatever. And then we started taking him up on that. And now like he's in a completely different place, and he's here right now because of just one conversation in a random location on one of our jobs, and he was a student somewhere.
that's all it takes.
You know?
Yeah. That's dope. That's all it takes, though. You just never know what those small interactions can do for a person, and just how fulfilling it can be, man. It can really change people's lives, and I think like we take that for granted. A lot of people don't realize that, and I would love for more people to experience that and just know that it's possible.
Yeah. I want to know. I got a two-sided question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Let's talk about this first because I want to stay on the directorial path. How do you make money in the film industry as a director?
Man. How do you make money? I think you have to always continuously ask that question to make money, because you got to be creative on that pursuit, especially on the narrative tip. Like if you're not, because even that's something like I'm like even learning when it comes to licensing, especially in the indie market. And if the cavalry, as they speak, isn't coming to save you, you really have to build up that audience, which is why I'm really big on the experience building, because I think it's more value in doing a tour of local screenings for yourself versus putting it into 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 festivals. Like the money that you're spending on that, you can literally collaborate with theaters, local filmmakers in different cities, and just like kind of hit, whether it's the East Coast, the Midwest,
Even
the Bible
schools
Belt.
and colleges, they got theaters.
Yeah, exactly. And like screen your things there and sell. You know what I'm saying? It's no different than being any type of artist, like being a music artist. Like you make money from the shows. And then, of course, you can send it off to streaming and all those things. But a lot of times, they want to see the audience, they want to see the build, and when you are on that phase of things, you're probably selling much more of a bigger product, which is like a feature, which is I haven't gotten there yet. But as far as the shorts and such, I think that's the best way and the best route outside of licensing and stuff like that. But I think that comes later. You're not going to make too much money or have a return in the short film space from, in my opinion, I think from licensing online. It's more, you need media or product, you need a feature.
Yeah. What is a common? Here's a two-sided question. What is a common misconception about you?
A common misconception about me. Honestly, I think a common misconception about me is that people think I wouldn't do a certain job or something like that. Like, some people may think like, oh no, he's busy, he's doing this. He's booked, he's doing that. But I'd be like, whatever, I don't really care. Like, some people may not ask me, and I'm a multi-hyphenate filmmaker, and I've played all roles, and the main roles that I can say I'm fairly good at, but I obviously cater towards directing and producing and such more. But like, I've DP'd, I've played first AC. Like, I understand camera. I'm not like a director that don't know what I'm doing.
I will say I think that's the best kind of director. Basically, if you, I want people to focus on like, okay, be good at the thing you're good at. But I think there's a lot of value in someone who's done every other job on set.
Yeah.
Because there's too many people and directors and other like positions who have never touched another department, and there's no empathy, and there's bad communication, and there's bad
100%.
leadership because of
Yeah,
it, because they don't understand.
Exactly.
And so I think, like, from your perspective, the fact that you even had to play first AC speaks a lot, because now you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, just to that whole point, it's like, it has allowed me to be a better director when it comes to communicating to my crew. From the crew aspect, outside of like, obviously one of the biggest roles is to talk to your talent and such, but I feel like all of my sets, especially the narrative, are always pretty smooth. I pride myself on that, because I understand how much time it takes for certain setups and whatever I'm asking for. So like, whenever I ask something or anybody give me like any type of lip or frustration, I'm always like, I know what it takes, and I know what needs to be done, and I know what I'm asking for. So like, there's no room to complain and stuff. But yeah, I think that common misconception is that I'm not down just to get down sometimes. And like, I'm not saying like, oh, I know how to do it, and like, I'm a novice. Like, I'm not like the best grip, what I'm saying, like, when it comes to rigging, but like, I'm no like, novice person where I don't know the tools. Like, you just gotta tell me like, oh, you need to do this and do that. I'm like, all right, bet, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what you're asking them to do.
And then like, as far as like on camera, like, if I was filling in for somebody at first AC, it don't really matter what camera we're on, even if it's something that I never shot on. Like, I'm gonna understand what to do and like how to troubleshoot and such.
The general idea.
Yeah.
Know where to start.
Yeah, you won't be getting like somebody green on set in any of those positions.
Yeah. Okay. So the backside of that question is, what do you wish people knew about you that most people don't?
Maybe I wish that people knew that, or maybe I wish that that people knew how transparent I can be. And I'm thinking, if they possibly knew that, to some degree, more people could be more open with sharing with me about how we could possibly help each other. I think if you have some type of comfortability with someone that you feel is open, you'll be able to communicate more candidly and be able to help service each other in a different way. And I'm transparent in a way where I also know myself. So like, we're not taking advantage. We're just like really communicating from a real place. And I'm not sure. Like, obviously, I think most people do know this, but I'm not sure if a lot of new people because they may not take the time to get to know people sometimes. It's just like an online thing, and like people don't, and I don't like I do answer DMs and do all that stuff too, but to some degree, the social battery online can just sway for outside reasons. So like, I think people have to put in more effort to make connections.
I will say, I think you do a good job of balancing like who you really are online.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of people who are like not actually being themselves
Oh, yeah,
necessarily.
yeah.
They're a little bit of a character,
Yeah.
or they're trying not to have that transparency so that actually how bad some things are some months.
Yeah.
Like that is something that I know people do is so how there are people now who are better at it of like just sharing the mental load or like what's really going on, but for the most part it's still a highlight reel.
Yeah.
But you do a good job of balancing that.
Thank you.
Like I don't see your stuff and I think you're any different than you are in real life,
Nice.
which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Definitely been wanting to do that.
Yeah. Okay. You talked about how smooth your narrative sets are. I want to know what's the most. Let's see. What's the worst film set you've ever been on, and what happened?
The worst one. Oh, you know
Like,
what?
give me a horror story.
There's actually a few, but one of the worst sets I've been on was I did a music video.
You don't have to say who it was for.
I don't even care. I did a music video with for a friend who was going by Spike Ree, and it was for Asian Doll. It was like this song called like None of That Shit. Like, overall, it was cool, but it was dragged. I think that music video, at the budget it was and what we were doing, we probably shot it over across like 3 days. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely
3 days at
ridiculous.
what budget?
3 days at like, I don't even remember. I just know it was low. Definitely like probably like, I don't even know. Disrespectful. I don't even like. I can barely remember. I just have like flashes. There's like a picture somewhere that
flash
someone
memories.
took on like a point and shoot with me. Like, I probably had just rented like your Easy Rig with the Serene, and I'm just like, I think it was like COVID time too. I think I had like a mask on, and I'm just sitting on an Apple box with the Serene on and the camera on the ground, like holding my eye like this, just like sad, because they were just wasting so much time. This was like one of those projects, very indie, where
And you're basically DPing. You weren't directing or
yeah, I was
anything.
DPing, and I love my boy to death and everything, but he was getting ran by her. Like, I mean, like whatever she was saying to do and when, and I was like yo, you can't run this set like this. Like, this is actually, you're gonna have to put some boundaries down. This is not okay. I'm here
because I'm about to walk.
Yeah, like I'm here right now because I'm trying to hold it down for you.
Yeah.
But this is ridiculous, and it's one of those sets like it scarred me like that to the point now. Whenever he calls, I always joke. I'd be like, "What's happening?" I'm like, I can't do what that is. I don't care how many years ago it was, because I want to say it was probably like, I don't know, 6 years ago, and I still hold it over him.
You got flashbacks,
Yeah, I'm
PTSD.
Like, I'm like, no. How, like, you talk to this client? Like, what's going on? Like, we can't.
They got money.
Yeah. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
It's not 3 days. It's 1 day, right?
That also, there was I got a few videos from some A-list people that would never come out. You got a lot of artists who just don't understand the concept and value of time.
Yeah.
And people's time, and
And what they're paying for.
Yeah, and like the labels will want to blame you for their lack of like structure with their artists, and that it's crazy. It's crazy, but like that's probably like one of my horror stories for real. And I had like a slight horror story. I'm over it now, but I did have a little resentment with I had a little resentment with Coyle Ray at one point, whatever, just due to the video that we shot a long time ago. I just didn't like that experience for my crew, is all I would say. But other than that, great career. Great career. Congratulations on the baby. All the things.
It is interesting. The film world is different because it's not like when you're on set. There's no like film police
Yeah.
who are like running
no.
this the way. Like there's not like this rule book. If you're in the union, it's a little bit different. But even that, there's still people involved. So you can get a shitty person who's at the top.
Yeah.
And it can be a really bad set, even when you're in the union doing things properly.
Yeah.
But it's such a weird career because you it's not like a construction site, but you put people, 15, 20, 30 people in a room or on a set, and you just pray that it goes well.
Yeah.
And the person at the top knows what they're doing, and the people below them know what they're doing, and that all that communication gets down to the very bottom, and that no one gets hurt because
Right.
of something stupid.
Right.
But people get fed. It's such a weird concept to think about. And here's what I'll say. It is really simple. It is really simple to run a great set, but it is not easy because you have to be detail oriented and care about every position, and then care about like how your decisions affect all those positions.
Yeah.
And then care about your communication. Like there's a lot of things you have to care about. You can't just care about your end product.
Yeah.
You have to care about the entire process and the people that you're ultimately responsible for.
Yeah. And be ready to pivot. Like that's one DP that I work with a few different DPs, but one DP who goes by Maverick now. I think it's like Blueprint Films or something like that on IG. Me and him always joke about like pivoting. Like we're like, yeah, we got time to pivot, because like a lot of times people get so caught up in the original idea, and we end up stunting our time when we got to think about how to kind of maneuver to get the full end product done. And I'm definitely quick to pivot. I will make, even if it's not the decision I want to make, I'm going to make that decision quick and be like, all right, yeah, we're doing this now. And then if we get that done, maybe we can go back.
That's so smart because I've been on sets where people freeze up and there's no decision being made and time is being wasted. And it sucks because everyone's just standing around waiting for the person leadership to make a decision, and they can't.
Yeah.
And then nothing really happens. And then that's how you get like behind, and then you stay behind. And then the sets drag and everyone starts talking behind your back and complaining.
Right.
Because nothing's going how it's supposed to be going because the person can't make quick decisions. And that's really all like running a good set is like making good but fast decisions.
Right.
And not just sitting there stalling. Caveat is it still has to be good because you don't want to make a fast decision and again something bad happens because of that decision.
Right.
So it has to be both fast and good to move forward in a way that needs to be done.
Right. It just needs logic. It just needs like you gotta have you just gotta guide the compass, or you're gonna hit the wave. It's either or.
Yeah. Okay, this is just like alternate universe. If you didn't have the option of being a director, what would you be doing?
If I did not have the option of being a director, I probably would love to be a chef. Like I don't necessarily like cook. I mean, I cook now. I cook. I definitely cook. But I'm not like cooking in a professional way in which like, oh yeah, I'm secretly a chef behind
You
closed
never
doors.
worked in a restaurant.
Yeah, no. But I love the idea and the concept of being a chef, and I love food. Like
Did you watch The Bear?
I do watch
You
the bear.
like the Bear?
I like the bear for the bear gives me anxiety, but
It gives everybody anxiety.
yeah, but I do love the bear for sure. I love everybody on there. I think they have a very talented cast, and that's what really draws me in. But yeah, I think the idea of being a chef and like the fact that I truly do enjoy going out to eat. My wife idea of a date is a dinner date.
Same for
Yeah.
mine.
No matter what, like I can plan an
better be food
activity,
involved.
a movie, but it's like I want to dress up, I want to look nice, I want to go have dinner.
Yes.
So like I make it my mission to like find like nice restaurants, not necessarily the most expensive, but like good quality food. There's a lot of there's actually a lot of people complain about the food here sometimes, but I'm like, what are you eating or where are you going? Because the places I be going and I can recommend for you,
Atlanta's crazy for food.
yeah, I'm like these are chefs. You know what I'm saying? These are quality
Yeah, we got all
places.
kinds of James Beard Award winners, all that kind of stuff. Like,
Yes. One of my favorite spots, I know my wife would definitely hate that I always say it and telling people no, but Bocalupo, love that place. And if you don't know about it, you're really asleep.
where is it?
It's off Edgewood.
Okay.
It is very good. It's like an Italian
I heard
fusion
of it,
spot.
yep.
Yeah, so good. It's like I always say it's like if you know, you know, but like trust me, that Chi-Chi's Kitchen, another Italian spot, love it.
Shout out.
But yeah, I would love to be a chef. I like the allure of like,
You know what I love about that? Because you're all about presentation.
yeah.
And I think that's definitely a big draw for you. Because you talk about experience and presentation, and food is such an experience and presentation.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
It coincides perfectly.
Yeah, and you'll pay for that. Like I said, how people make you feel, and if it's good, it's just gonna be good. Like some people will go to like Longhorn, not no shade to Longhorn, thing like that, but they go to Longhorn or let's say what is it, Red Lobster and get a surf and turf and spend like $50 on something like, and there's times to go there, but they'll go there and like I guess like to a degree say that's premium, but then won't go to like a restaurant who may specialize in that service and spend the same amount of money because of the perception that this is like way out of my budget or anything like that. So like some people like psych themselves out when they think about restaurants. No one's saying going to a restaurant and spending $1,000. Like that's crazy. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of things to experience out in the world when we kind of get outside of our heads sometimes. And I think that just speaks to so many different facets.
You want to experience life.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Who is your favorite creator right now? Thanks, John. Got that question from John.
My favorite creator. Wow. I don't know if I have a favorite creator, but I have been heavily
Some people you
invested
like.
into like YouTube space and long form content. So I'm probably naming like some of the people that most people already watch, but like I'm looking at like there's this guy named Volandez, Danny G, whatever his last name. I can never say his last name. Danny Gervais or something like that. I've been looking into. Can't remember everyone's name, but I've been looking into a lot of YouTubers who are like creating communities online and kind of talking through what they have been navigating and the projects that they're doing. And those have been like probably like my biggest draws as far as what I'm digesting.
So would you say that YouTube is like your biggest consumption as far as time is concerned?
I say when it comes to my preferred choice of a social media, it would be YouTube.
Interesting. That seems to be a very widely growing trend.
Yeah,
overall.
and it's like one of those things where it's like I always was into it, and never kind of got to it. But I think the more I kind of watch and the more I see people do, the more I was like kind of I've been inspired to kind of even begin to make those plays to navigate in that space a little bit.
Yeah, you've seen I've seen you dabble on YouTube a little bit. What's the plan there?
Right now, I'm looking to really cultivate online, just kind of speaking through like some of my thoughts around, the narratives that I want to create. There's a lot of people teaching online and all of that. I don't think that's for me. I'm not here for the technical, but I think I would love to get there and kind of talk more about, our whys a little bit more and navigating in that space and being kind of relentless in creating something. Like I just came back from Lagos, Nigeria. I was shooting a music video out there. And while I was out there, I decided to give myself the pressure of making a short film. For whatever reason, I just want stress. And maybe like
Unplanned, you were there, and then you were like, all of a sudden,
well, like 2 days before, or like 2 days before the flight, I was like, yeah, I need to do this. So I wrote like 4 to 5 pages, went online, and I was like, well, if I can get two actors, actor and actress that could be talented, I'm going to do this. We're going to see. So I just put it online, got ready for my flight. They got back to me. I saw 2 people. That was great. Connected with them. Some other filmmakers out there kind of like, kind of pulled the coattail and was like, hey, look, let's do something. Let's do that. And while I'm planning this music video and doing the pre-production for the job that's bringing me there.
the actual job.
Yeah, right. Like on the side, also trying to plan how to kind of make this little short film happen. And ultimately, I just want to connect with other communities internationally while I was out there. So the beautiful thing about that project, we end up getting it done. Both projects stress in their own way, and it really broadened my perspective on community because while I was out there, what I noticed in Nigeria, and which I kind of see sometimes when I do travel internationally, is like the resilience to create is so much different. I ain't gonna say so much difference. It's more potent.
Okay.
There are people here, obviously in the States, that I think are just like true filmmakers. They're down for it. Like they're true creatives. They're relentless. But as a nation, so to speak, there's a lot of just like lazy people or complainers.
Yeah.
And I felt like out there, of course, there's the same thing, but less. I think everybody was a little bit more intentional about what they were providing, and you could feel it.
More concentrated.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful experience, regardless of the stress. And yeah, we shot that, and that experience is something that I would like to talk about and share on the YouTubes, and not so much as like the end product of it, but just the experience of trying things. Because some people will go somewhere and not think to, let me just see if I can get somebody, and deal with it. Because I didn't know who I was going to get. I was just like, if I get somebody, and if I feel like they're talented, I will try to put the time in and make it happen.
If this, then that.
Yeah.
And so on and so on.
Yeah, and I just kept going. And like now this is done, I'm probably going to put it on YouTube in a couple weeks. And also the behind the scenes and me talking about just that experience. And
I remember seeing you when you were out there on the gram, all your stories and stuff. I was like, oh, he looks like he's doing some really interesting stuff out there.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I hope he's coming back soon because I want to get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that is such a good, because one of my questions for you was like, what are the top 3 things you think people need to become a successful director? And I think you just answered one of them, and I want to give you the chance to talk about it. Most people wouldn't think to even attempt something completely different while they're also on another job. But I think that's like the difference between someone who like really wants it and really has like a level of success in their head and someone who doesn't, which is you are a doer
Yeah.
and you are going to make something happen. So talk about like what do you think it takes to be a successful director?
Yeah. I think, obviously being a doer and being relentless in that pursuit is one thing. I think the second thing is being honest. Even when I was out there with, all these new people who I never met, I took the time to communicate with all of them. I'm doing a pro bono project, and I want them to be invested into it. So it took me having like a transparent conversation. It wasn't long, just very honest. And I think if you're being honest, that's all you can ever be. If you're being honest, people are going to feel it and accept it or not. But you put everything on Front Street and you have your chips in, and you're going to cash out one way or the other because somebody's going to take it.
Yeah.
So, I think that's like a good aspect, as far as that. I think those two things are like kind of playing with more of like your internal aspect. But on the outside, I think the third thing is the raw technicalities. I think you have to put in the time in some capacity to study the craft. And there's so many different types of directors. I think you need to understand what your strengths are, whatever that is. There are writer, director types, who never touched the camera.
Yeah.
And then there are people who, like myself, who's probably done, multiple things and so on and so forth. I think you have to really put in the time to understand the craft in whatever aspect that you were in and allow yourself to kind of grow slowly, and let people know when you don't know. That's the number one thing. Like there's a lot of people, who are nepotism babies and like, industry leading roles, who are, holding hands. Like you may not have like a rich uncle to hold your hand, but you got a friend or two around, and I think that's what you got to kind of see the value. And a lot of times we're just looking so far ahead. I know people talk about it. We're looking so far ahead with our hands here instead of just being right here and like grabbing the people next to you and walking up together. So I think those three aspects kind of really sum it up outside of like the technical stuff because you don't have to know too much. You don't have to know about how to light. You just need to know who to talk to and who to trust and how to communicate with that person. And they're going to give it. So
I want to piggyback and add the word execution because, I mean, part of being a doer is actually executing. I think people can learn logistically and technically all they want and learn the craft, but then just never act on it.
You're right. You definitely have to execute.
Because I feel like we are kind of in a world of like constant learning, but people are afraid to like pull the trigger.
Yeah, they're not practicing, and I think that's, and like even with this Legos project, the only reason why I did it, outside of just wanting to do it, I was like, this is a great opportunity to practice under some type of pressure. I didn't get all of the shots and all the things that I wanted. I was getting stopped by the military police. It was all types of things happening. But I was like, I am so curious as how I will finish out a simple story, under these conditions. And that is like the testament, and that's like the skill set that you learn because you just never know when you're going to be in a position like that. Now you can be a lot more sharper on and be a lot more intentional on what to do and what to get and how to pivot. So it was a beautiful mess to kind of garner some type of thought process, and it was also compounded because like outside of that technical like rep, it also was for me to connect with other artists in a different realm.
See how they do things.
Yeah, see how they do things, see how they pivot, what they're down for, and just kind of spread the wings a little bit because it's like obviously I was meeting with people for the music video, art directors, stylists, and stuff like that. But I also wanted to make sure I met people who was like in that film space as well. Not to say that they weren't, but it just allowed me to kind of spread in two different directions. And now I felt like I covered more ground in there. Too much to the point now where I'm like, I actually want to shoot a feature in Nigeria, due to that Relentless and due to what I think we can get done there. But yeah,
What happened with the military police?
man, Nigeria is a beautiful place, and it's very beautiful, very beautiful. A lot of things to do there, but yeah, man, the airport is a little crazy, and sometimes the police can just be a little bit obnoxious with like stopping you, and yeah, they just be everybody. But what I will say is very similar to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Very. I think all you got to do is have a mouthpiece or have somebody around you with a nice mouthpiece who can like take in that chatter and negotiate
Finesse
and talk and finesse, and then you're good to go. Other than that, it's good. It's like nothing necessarily to be like afraid of or anything like that. But again, me meeting new people, internationally, and having those people, just the fact that I even had someone there who was quick with it, and I didn't have to necessarily tackle that on my own. It allowed me to really like again spread my wings and really sow those seeds.
Yeah. I saw on your Instagram you've like gotten into skits over the past little while.
Yeah.
Tell me about your skits and stuff.
You know
and
that-
who you're collaborating with.
Yeah, I was collaborating with an influencer goes by Warren Abercrombie, and him and I we were talking about doing some things which we're still on the on the burner about doing. But he started like a series called Error 404 or something like that, or Error 101. I don't know. But it's just like a little series.
And this is stuff you're acting in.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
acting into
yeah.
it, and we kind of got a little bit and segment where with me being like this, I guess like this darker version of his character at a other chain restaurant. And then it's like a slap knee comedy type of thing. It's pretty fun. I think for me, it has been enjoyable. I do enjoy going to like acting classes sometimes, just for like therapeutic reasons, and also just to better communicate with my actors. But yeah, that experience has been fun, especially in this I guess this realm of content creation. It definitely broadened my perspective on like, oh, it could be fun to do some skit things. Like that may not be like a gimmick for me, but it's fun to do. I may want to do it here and there, and I think that's where we have to be in. Like I think a lot of us we're always thinking like, oh, we got to do when we do one thing, we got to keep doing it, and it's like no, you can try something, and even if it's good, that don't mean that's something that you have to do. Like like I love macaroni. I'm not gonna eat it all day, every day. You know what I mean? Like so, and I know how to make it. So it's like that's what you need to do. You need to treat some of these projects and some of these ideas, as little dishes, and like you're not gonna consume it every day, but you can still
You
enjoy
know,
it.
a lot of different kind of dishes with pasta.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Do you have time for more questions?
Yeah.
A few more? Okay. So give me 3 big career goals over the next 5 years.
3 big career goals over the next 5 years. 1, I absolutely want to film, direct, and put out a feature that will bring in whatever sizable wealth God wants me to have. That's number 1. 2, I would like to take all of that wealth and diversify that into more community-based environments. I love coffee shops. I love things. I love, I have a lot of ideas for all types of businesses for like creative cultivation. So I'm gonna let God lead me in where that goes because I can list out probably 10 variants of where I would like to create as far as space. 3. 3. I have been dabbling with like my space, as far as like my home, my office, and stuff like that. And I have always loved lights, in a sense of balanced lighting, ambient lighting, mood lighting in a home. I think that just like when I go into someone's home and like the big lights not on, I'm like, oh yeah,
Hate the big light.
like I've invited, since we moved, I invited a couple friends here and there, which I'm about to start doing more of, to the house, and they'll come through and they'll be like, oh yeah, it feels so cozy, and I'm like, thank you. You know what I'm saying?
That's a big compliment.
Yeah, like thank you so much.
You
like,
ain't ever gonna see the big light on my house.
And so it's so inviting, and like because it makes me feel good. Like that's like a little hidden passion that I would love to. I would love to maybe not maybe. I would love in the next 5 years to begin the journey of creating some type of house, home lighting project of some sort, some type of installment. Um, I think, yeah, I don't know what that looks like or what that is or what variation of a lantern or something that I create, but those are definitely like the things. So I think like as we're being artists and we're creating in the lane that we're in, I think we have to like diversify and kind of see ourselves in different paths, Because I think it all correlates. It's just like you gotta kind of just find it.
Yeah, that's great. I love all three of those. So okay, that leads me to if you had the opportunity to direct or write any movie that's already been made. So if like you were the one who put out that movie, which movie would it be?
Wow. There's actually a lot of movies that I wish I would have made.
That's how I feel about music. There's several songs where I'm like, wow, I wish I wrote
Yeah.
that song.
I really wish I made Moonlight.
Yeah.
That movie. I think also wish I made, what's the film called? Something Forgiveness, with Andre Hollins, like Exhibiting Forgiveness. I love that movie. I think that's like I wouldn't mind. I like that movie for the idea of if that was my debut feature. I thought that was a really tasteful film. Um, yeah, those two. I mean, there's a lot of, I would love to have done Gone Girl or something, but but just to think about, I'm actually thinking from probably a practical sense in my head because
Yeah.
I'm looking at those films, Moonlight, Exhibiting Forgiveness, as like low budget masterpieces, especially Moonlight. Doing what is done, being winning an Oscar at $1 million budget. So those have been like gateways, for me. So I wish that was, yeah, I definitely wish that was
Those
me.
are,
Yeah,
I thought those might be close to your answers.
Yeah.
Okay. You talked a bit about like you brought up God multiple times in the conversation. What has your relationship been like with like how has your relationship with God changed over the past 10 years of you kind of shifting from a totally different life than I guess you thought you'd had? And how important has that been for you?
it has been very reassuring, because in life we sway and things like that. We get sad, we get all types of emotional aspects occur. But one thing that has always been prevalent for me, is my faith, because I don't be there's been periods where I do not know what is happening this month or next month or after this gig or after that, but I've been blessed with having it at the end of the month, and that's just something I just don't take for granted. So I think it's just being aware of yourself and where you are and who you are, and trying to navigate on the path that you need to take to find more security, because sometimes the security that we're looking for, whether it's finances or whatever the case may be, um, it may not be necessarily right in front of you, but it is behind the door. It's along the path. You just have to kind of have that faith and that willingness to listen with clear ears, you know what I'm saying, and clear eyes to kind of see it through. So like that's really been the thing. I think my faith when it comes to me personally has always like swayed and wavered just like any human being, but it's always been consistent and I've always known and always been locked in there, you know. So and it's funny because I remember in college, one of my best friends who is also a pastor, ironically, uh, he used to always like press me when I was like trying to when I was with all the rappers like, hey, you should probably tap into some church-based music videos, stuff like that. And I was like, nah. But I ended up reaching out to someone who went by at the time, Isaac. He had a song called like "Let the Church Say Amen." It was real catchy, real fun tune. And I reached out to him and a guy named Real Will who had a really soulful like church song. And it's funny because we talked about reaching out to people. I've worked with a lot of gospel artists, you know, TD Jakes. I've worked with Jonathan McReynolds, Jordan Armstrong. I'm probably missing people, but I worked with a lot of, I would say, top tier gospel artists. But I only worked with them after I reached out, and I only met them when I reached out to Isaac and Real Will. So like when I reached out to them because I just thought their music was dope, and I was like, oh, I just be cool if we shoot something. That catapulted me into that whole space, and it's been beautiful. Oh, Dante Bowe, like I did that whole scenario, like
To open up a whole new world for you.
yeah, it definitely did. And it also kind of like did its own ministry when I was working in those spaces. That kind of really always reminded and drew me back in at times. You know, like I'll be working on. I think there's a period I was working on Sexy Red and Jonathan Reynolds at the same time. Not in unrelated, but it's just like
Yeah.
it's so fun to just have that duality. Outside of work, and I think if you in between the lines of the work, there's messages to that you can kind of go through. Like when I was working with Jonathan McReynolds on the My Truth album, we did a visual album for the project. It didn't get presented in the sense of how it was intended. It kind of ended up just dropping it like individual music videos, but it was a whole story with it. And I remember on the day that Jonathan McReynolds was there, I had got a call because my aunt at the time had kind of like fell into a coma. And while I was on set, I ended up getting like, you know, the call that like she was passing. And I was working on this video and we were shooting an emotional scene about losing something I wrote about losing the character's grandma. And you know, I think it's just very not rare, but it's just like that was like such a clear aspect of how valuing when you're like working in purpose and you're working with, you know, with the art, how it can just really kind of do something for you. Because I could have just left set and went off, but I ended up finishing that day and we had like a really good cry session and we really like did some ministry in some way working on that project. It was cool. It was like it was a very like 2020 vision experience working on that project while also you know going through what I was going through at that time. So
How do you feel like that changed you?
I think for me it just put a lens on the purpose of what you're doing, because sometimes no matter what you're doing as far as like creatively, you might make something and maybe it didn't come out looking how you envisioned it, but as long as you kind of put, you know, your heart and your soul, or like, what you have to give in your life right now into it, it'll become something memorable. I'm always gonna remember that project. Sometimes I look back at that project and I just remember where I was because of what was happening. So it has a place like for me, inside of me, that I'm just always like attached to. And I think if we could sometimes see our projects and what we're working on a little bit more holistically, I think, you know, I don't know. I feel like we may be able to enjoy the process a little bit more, you know, because at that time and when it comes to that project, and I look back at it, it's not about like it ain't feeding me no more. It ain't giving me no money or anything like that. But if I had not done that project and got that news, I don't know what I could have attached, like everything to, or the memories, or express myself at that time. So if I'm just thinking about money and stuff all the time, you know, you kind of lose out on the experience of life. Like I literally can backtrack, and I have a footnote, and I think that's what we need to kind of do a lot more with everything that we're doing. Like everybody is struggling with something somewhere. There are people who have money and like they are steps away from falling, jumping off the building. So money can't be the answer, So I think like being smart about what we want to do and what we need, and just being transparent is like the ultimate key.
What is your relationship with money?
My relationship with money is probably it's a lot better than it used to be. It was terrible. My relationship with money was, oh my God, stressing me out. Like
You talked about a credit card being on its last
yes,
legs.
yes, like because I always been like a risk taker in a sense. So like in college when I did have the clothing line and stuff like that, um, I was definitely pushing that refund check and pushing my one little credit card with this $500 limit, and just doing all. Well, actually, it was like a $2,500 limit. Actually, now I think about it, $2,500 limit, and I was I was pushing it. As a student athlete, pushing it. I got hope. I was definitely doing a lot of things, but it was all in the pursuit of just figuring things out and learning. But our relationship with money was definitely tried during those processes. I was operating in a space at one point with like fear, because of not having and just not understanding. I grew up, like I said, I grew up here over time, but I'm from Florence, South Carolina, and a lot of the people that I know, my family, and those who are in that community or was of that community growing up, there, in my mind, there wasn't like a lot of resources or talk about financial literacy or anything of that nature, especially nothing like necessarily creative, and unconventional. So, I think like having experiences like that really kind of took a toll on my overall relationship with money. I think it wasn't until, time, you get older, you grow, you get around different people and you talk that you can kind of like learn. And I'm still learning, still figuring it out. So I think it's just like, I love that my relationship with money has grown to being more, what's the word, maybe accepting of where I am, than just being this deep resentment for what I don't have. Because in my mind, it's like, yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it. Like we're gonna make that. Like we'll figure it out.
Yeah. What do you feel like? At what point did like maybe your mindset shift when it came to money?
I think when I started asking more so for what I want rather than the money, because sometimes you want the money for what you want. And it's like, what if you just get it? Like, what you want the Benz? Like, what if I just gave you the Benz? Like, would you still want the money?
Yeah.
So like sometimes it's just more so being aligned with what it is that you need and what you want. And I think when I started to kind of see that, I saw it being received differently, you know, because sometimes it would just either come to me like wrapped, or sometimes I do get the money to get it, you know, so it's always there. So I'm just like always like, all right, let's just focus on what we need, what we want, and and then go from there.
You feel like you're good with money now?
I'm better.
Yeah.
I'm better. I've never been like a excessive spender or like, you know, buying anything crazy or like expensive clothes. Like I enjoy going thrifting. I like taste. You know, I love the bargain. It's just that I think when you don't have a system in mind and you're not like, you know, diversifying your funds and things of that nature, like you will run out. And I think that was like something I had to learn.
What would be like? What do you feel like is maybe even if you learn from it? What do you feel like is your maybe one of your biggest mistakes over the past 10 years in your career?
One of my biggest mistakes. I feel like one of my biggest mistakes was not listening to myself, like not practicing discernment when it comes to things and people, you know, like, and it's not that you gotta like, oh, if you feel some type of way, you just gotta like cut it all off. But there were times where like there were situations I was in, I wouldn't address it. I would just kind of let it fly by. I think if you practice discernment and you bring a question, you know, and asking questions, like people don't ask enough questions. And like I don't like being questioned a lot, but I respect it. Like I always like I would prefer that you ask questions than to not. And yeah, I definitely wasn't practicing that discernment. I wasn't practicing the questioning because I would just kind of sit in this idea of whatever I'm thinking, which wasn't reality, when I could actually know. A lot of times we can know what it is that we want to know.
What do you mean? Like you were just ignoring reality?
Yeah, just ignoring reality because I want to live in my assumptions. It's like, I'm uncomfortable, but maybe I'm not. I'm gonna assume that I'm not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Rather than like voicing the opinion and like asking the question, you know, and going from there. And if someone is truly, you know, aligned with you or like I guess like a good person, a good human being, they're gonna respond, and you're going to get an answer one way or another. You know, I think asking questions and communicating is the gateway to everything. Like even if they're lying, you ask enough questions, you're gonna know. Like you're gonna know. So like that's the main thing. It's like just being too receptive of the things that aren't reality, and you control that. Like you really control the reality. So if you know that and you accept that power, then why not put it to the test?
What do you think about social media? Like what's your relationship with social media? Have you always like been about it? Has it been like a drag? Has it or is it like no, it's kind of my element now? Like
Social media has always been a drag for me. I enjoy like anybody, you know, glancing, looking at things, catching up with people.
a drag for you to consume or a drag for you to produce? Or both?
A little bit of both. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with like the the outpour of it. At least now, because you know everybody's doing the thing, and I'm like, oh my god, like you're messing up my whole flow. Now I don't even want to do it. Like so, it's like having those separations, you know, because I do enjoy social media, and I enjoy social media because when people do put their hard work online, like I like to support that, you know, I like to repost and like double tap and you know, and also be inspired by it. But the overconsumption of it is so like painstaking. So I think like in moderations, with your personal self is like the best route to go with it. But I'm all for it. I think I can do it, and I'm actually preparing myself to do it and be online more. Well, I wouldn't say more, intentionally. Be online intentionally more, and with that being said, it's just like practicing what my levels of consumption.
Yeah. Not the mindlessly consuming
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
could be
Because when
doing
I
this.
see people with death scrolling, and then if I catch myself, I'm like, oh my god.
It's bad. Like, social media is a weird thing for me. I have not been a producer of social media in like a solid like 7, 8, 9 years. Like, I know no
Yeah,
one
yeah,
ever
yeah.
sees me post anything, and I needed a break from it for a long, long time. And part of that was like I'm married, I'm building a family, like I'm building a business, and on one hand, it's like, well, counterintuitive not to be on social media if you're building a business, whatever. And we have our Atlas page and all that, but like, I kind of just stopped using my personal page for such a long time, and part of that was like I was trying to figure out what am I even doing long term, but it was also just the thing of like I'm almost too busy with real life to even think about this.
Yeah.
And I'm in the same boat of you of like I'm actually going to use it much more, but in a very intentional way. Because it's bad for me even when I'm like I just got to look something up, and I hop on Instagram. Within seconds, I'm already looking at something, and I forgot what I was going to look up. I'm trying to go to a search bar, but the algo is so good. That first video you see, like it's hooked you in. Because my wife and I love like sharing reels with each other.
Yeah.
We watch just funny reels. Like I'm a big proponent of just comedy reels and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's our TV, that we watch together. Like we'll send reels back and forth to each other. We don't watch them until we're together.
Yeah. It's nice.
And we'll literally on our couch, Apple TV, share our iPhone screen, and then scroll through reels together of the ones we sent,
Yeah.
like the curated ones. But like that's how I use Instagram for the most part. Is just like really a relationship like building thing with my wife. Of we just enjoy that time together and like laughing together
Yeah.
about humorous things that we both find funny. But I've been so out of practice of like actually producing content.
Yeah.
But now this is like what I'll be producing as well as like the music side of things. And it is tough though, because it's like you can't like when you're producing content and trying to be something to people and showcase who you are, you think you kind of have to be chronically online without actually being online.
Yeah.
Because you have to be in front of everybody. But you want to be authentic and you want to also provide value. So like my goal is to kind of be the social media that I wish I could see more of.
Yeah.
Because I don't love sitting there doom scrolling. It doesn't feel that great after a little while of like, what am I even doing? Like I got to go get this thing done, that should have been done like
Right.
15 minutes ago. But at the same time, there's certain content I wish there was more of. And it's really just like positive content of like, what can I create to then inspire someone else to like create and make?
Right.
Because I feel like you said something earlier about like wanting to have a fruitful life. And part of my perspective is that it's almost selfish of me to not produce content that helps other people also have a fruitful life. Like I feel like I have certain gifts and I have certain skill sets and certain technicality understandings and like logistical stuff. And I have like somewhat of like a visionary mindset. And it's like, well, if I never use it, then what was even the point?
Right.
Like God, I feel like God's given me certain gifts that I need to actually utilize to help other people, but to also inspire other people. And really it's just like, how can we use our gifts to serve other people?
Right.
So like for 2026, what do you think is going to be different for you with social media versus like in past years?
I think for me this year it's all like pretty much like what you just said is bringing that intention to the forefront, and putting out more of what what you want to see and what you want to enjoy, like I mentioned before, me when it comes to looking at a lot of the long form content that I truly value, You know, that when I'm not on Netflix and things, like I go to YouTube and I just play them and I just listen to them talk and them show me some cool project that they work on. And I be supporting it like I know them for real. But, you know, and I value that. So because I enjoy that, that's something that I would love to push out myself, and while also connecting with people. I think in that online world and perspective, the best thing to do is to have real world connections and get out in your community and touch hands and touch grass. You know, I think I always randomly post on my what you call it, the little Instagram bubble. I'd be like, yeah, on the stories,
Stories, yeah.
yeah. I'd be like, get off your ass and touch some grass, like, just because it's like, for real, like you got to get outside and go on them walks and have other interests
Yeah.
outside of this thing. A lot of people don't have other interests, and you can tell.
People need hobbies.
Yeah, they do. They do.
People need hobbies for the sake of having hobbies, not to just show it on social media.
Right.
You know?
Go do
Like,
something.
what do you enjoy in secret that's like positive for you?
Right. Go do something, man. Go pickleball or something.
Right. Right. You're a runner.
Yeah.
Is that what you spend a lot of time on right now, or?
Not as much because I ran like I am. I'm actually trying to get back more consistent. I have some goals as far as like what I'm trying to do in my 5K time and stuff like that. I'm trying to be prepared for Peachtree this year for sure, and I'm excited about that. But running is definitely one of the elements. I think right now I'm kind of exploring. You know, obviously like playing around with Art Deco with the lighting and stuff is in the background as far as like what that look like. I be on Etsy looking at people, creators, and seeing what they're kind of doing. Just because, you know, again, I just want to kind of explore more about, you know, how I can better express myself. You know, like I'm cool with making a premiere product of some type of home decor item that could be very dope. You know, I would love to do that, and in the long form document that. I want to talk about that. Like, if I made a crazy lantern that you can hang in your ceiling.
Physical manufacturing is so cool.
Yeah.
Making physical products for people to also enjoy is like
Yeah.
one of the coolest things.
Yes. So that's like something I'm just really looking forward to doing, man. Like obviously when I came up in here and you know I'm seeing the signs and you know the Panavision and the Panasonic and stuff like that, I'm like, this is dope. You know, like even replicate, like, you know, coming up with something creative that's different with something like that, which is, you know, nothing far fetched, but it's like, you know, stuff like that could be cool and engaging. It can be a start.
2 more questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to get your opinion on. I'll ask it this way: do you think we'd be better off without AI?
I really do not like AI in the essence of what it is, but I respect it. I respect it to a degree. It is a little weird. It's getting very freaking weird now. It's getting very, very weird. You know, but it has its pros and its cons. But I think what's really throwing me off is some people's perspective around AI when it comes to like it being like this one-stop utilization aspect or replace of things. You know, it's just very weird to me. Like, you know, for people to try and just make a full ad with hyper realistic people and like, you know, sell a product and things like nature. I think it's gonna like
Coke,
yeah,
Coca-Cola.
right. It's gonna put us in a it's gonna put us in a real weird mental space down the line, because people, like human beings, already have a unrealistic, you know, perception of reality when it comes to like themselves and people and body and image. But like when you're like manufacturing these looks and stuff like that, like I can't imagine the unrealistic expectations that people will put on themselves in the future. Like to not know like oh, to look this way or be this thing, and it's like it's not even real. It's kind of insane. What I do like about it is like the natural tools that help us create. I think creators who are using it that I see online who are using it to like kind of, I guess, like speed past like VFX and to some degree like who are doing it tastefully is kind of cool because there's a lot of people like I don't have a lot of experience with VFX, for instance, or the budgets I've worked with haven't really utilized a lot of VFX in that capacity. So like I've even played around with doing like simple things that I know would have been very costly, utilizing AI for like certain transitional pieces.
So, yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying. Do you feel like then, because I think a lot of people would be like, well, you're taking jobs away from people. It's like, it's so
100%,
like,
and that's the part I hate about it too.
but there's
Yeah.
the only argument I would say is like what you're saying is there was no budget for VFX anyway. We were never going to pay anyone to do it. It wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
Now we can just do it anyway, even though like there was never a third party involved. So it's kind of a weird dichotomy of like, I don't want to take jobs away from anybody, but I didn't have a job for anyone anyway. Like in the first place, there was no job. We just had this idea, and we can execute it technically now.
Right. Exactly. And even with it, and as a tool set, I think it's obviously those who do VFX obviously utilize AI in a much more sophisticated manner to better execute their composites and things of that nature. So I think I think to some degree it's a phenomenal tool. It's just such a dangerous one in the sense of like where it's going.
I'm not a fan of it overall. Like if I could snap my fingers like like
Yeah.
Thanos and take it all away, it's gone.
100%.
Because I don't like that it takes away people's ultimate like time of creativity, even especially when it comes to visual effects and all this other stuff of like. I get that maybe there's some tasks that other people would be like, well, I'm so glad I don't have to do that one task anymore because AI can do it for me. But we're still a long way off of like AI being able to even do the in-between tasks. Because right now it's just rendering whatever you tell it to render from start to finish. It's not like it's wireframing. It's not like it's not doing all that yet.
Yeah.
So I personally, kind of like you, I kind of hate AI overall. I think there's like useful tasks that it can do of like, hey, analyze this PDF and tell me, where it says something like this.
Right.
Like little things like that where it's like, I don't have to read through 73 pages of something. That's cool. Like that saves me a lot of time that I could be doing more useful things of. But like, there's definitely a line in the sand where I draw of like, guys, the creativity aspect of it, like we got to get away from that. Because it's not, because again, there is this also this other thought process of like, well, ultimately it's all just plagiarism of other people's ideas, because all AI is just taking whatever input it has.
Right.
So it can't create anything new. That doesn't exist. It's not new. It's just 100 pieces of 100 people's other ideas or images that they made.
Right.
And that all made into this, thought that someone prompted. But it's not technically a new idea.
Right.
Or a new, I thought when I read that, someone talking about it of like, it's all plagiarism at the end of the day. It's like, yeah, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see that being a thought process. But I don't like the Christmas Coca-Cola ad at all. I don't think that's the move. I don't think people should be making commercials and stuff with it.
At all. It's like...
Because if you're going to go CGI, again, like, make someone... Have an animation house do the animation. Like, just do it traditionally. Because, like, again, you really do become that soulless corporation when you start doing soulless things. That's my opinion of it.
100%. And then it kind of like becomes backtracked into like eventually being like one solitary like mindset behind it versus like actual creative community behind a thought, a product, and the things that made these corporations what they are. It's so weird. It's like why would you want to lose the pieces that built you, the whole infrastructure that built you?
Coke is a perfect example, thinking about like, okay, you have these Christmas Coca-Cola ads with trains and Santa Claus. Where do you think that came from? That came from early 1900s when some artists had the idea of like associating Santa Claus with drinking Coca-Cola. And so you're 100% right. You're degrading this past art that someone else made into something that is completely soulless.
Right.
You know, and then it evolves into, I don't know, whatever it evolves into.
Yeah. And at the same time, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like how much money do people want?
Yeah.
Like,
Especially like I can understand, okay, you didn't have a job for someone anyway in visual effects. There was no money, and you did this cool little effect to like elevate the video. So no one was going to get paid in the first place. Still no one got paid, whatever. When you are $1 billion company and you could spend the money, but you choose not to, that is a problem,
yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy. And knowing the economy.
Yes.
But still wanting to be like, oh, we're gonna save, we're gonna do it's
Shareholder value.
yeah, it's baffling. It's truly baffling. But that is the world we're in.
I think that's somewhat what I appreciate about like companies like Apple. They are still so about like real.
Yeah, because they did that thing practically, the
Logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which like you wouldn't think about that much, but then you see the behind the scenes, you're like, wow, thank goodness someone cares. And I feel like that's kind of been a part of Apple for so long. It's like they really do care about like my theory about why Apple hasn't like really pushed into the whole AI thing is because I think there's a lot of people at the top who could see like we need to wait this out and see what these other companies do and the backlash they get before we make our mark, and then potentially face a lot of backlash too, because when you have companies like Microsoft and Google and like technologically you can say they're making cool things,
Right.
but people just call it slop anyway. You know, like the joke right now I've seen online is Microsoft has implemented their AI into like, I think they're calling it like Copilot, and then it's like that's implemented into like Microsoft Office, and like there's this whole meme online now where they're calling it Microslop instead of Microsoft because of the amount of AI that's like going into there. And the CEO was like, "Hey, please don't call Microsoft Microslop." Like he was trying to like be pro AI, and then everyone just doubled up, and then just continued to call it Microslop. You know?
Yeah.
All that to say, like I appreciate for now until they start, you know, potentially making slop. Apple has done a good job of like kind of staying away from that and creating things from scratch.
Yeah.
You know, which I
Yeah.
appreciate a lot.
I definitely appreciate that too. Definitely.
All right, Creed, one final question for you. I want you to look ahead. You're nearing the end of your life. What do you want to be known for?
I would love to be known for how I don't know how to put it. I think I would love to be known for being someone who saw you, if that makes sense. I think one of the biggest things that anybody would remember someone for is when they have been seen, you know, and that can be attached to a multitude of different experiences. And if I know that I'm doing creative things, I know that I'm trying to make art and put myself on Front Street, then I know for a fact that in that pursuit, that people will connect to it if there's a amount of people that really feel seen, not necessarily in the work, but in like the artist itself. You know what I mean? Like nobody bury Basquiat paintings. You know, like
Yeah.
you know they will talk about the man or the person. So, you know, I'm thinking about being, you know, people feeling seen from this experience. You know, I think your life is like the biggest art piece and art gallery that you can kind of create. So, you know, I hope people are enjoying it.
That's it, bro. That's all I got. That's perfect way to end it. That's perfect.